Welcome back. So we are on our final third of the recent road trip to Lutz Antiques. And as I mentioned, I probably only hit about a quarter of the store. But still, as you see, I'm going to have to power through this video because otherwise we'll be here for 2 hours discussing things. So when we come back, we'll jump right into it. I knew I had to go when I began filming this last portion of a video. And so you will hear me say over and over again, I've got to move. It's time to go. But every time I took a step, I came across something else that I really had to share with you. So the sort of farewell process was just agonizingly long. Nevertheless, let's get right into it. This next, it's 3 items, and I sort of took them all in one running string of video, which I will edit for you so that you don't have to see the little transitions. But we're starting off with a gorgeous, like wall-length, glass-doored bookcase. I'm guessing 1880s, 1890s. It's not Eastlake, but it has some characteristics of the arts and crafts movement. We've discussed that. So that's why I'm dating it late 19th century. We then moved on to a wonderful Eastlake dresser, and then to a Georgian Revival Highboy. So let's take a look. So let's take a look at this piece. It's $22.95, $2,295. And I have to back up to get the whole thing in the camera. Beautiful piece. Let's go a little closer. What we are looking at is a bookcase that is probably at least 8 feet long. Storage drawers in the bottom. Very, very nice. So, it's one of those things that makes me wish I had 8 feet of blank wall, because this is a genuine beauty, and you don't see these. Let's take a peek at this. Now, I'm sure you all know, this is Eastlake. This, it has all of the Eastlake characteristics, with the exception of the Gothic ornamentation. But it has the shallow carving, the spoon carving. Look at that. It's just beautiful. And it has the reading. Oh, actually, it doesn't have the turn spindles either. Nonetheless, take my word for it, this is Eastlake. This is a gorgeous Eastlake dresser. So, check it out. $275. I love that. I mean, I really do love that. It's just beautiful. Great shape, oak. Yeah. Looks like the mirror is probably original, but I don't know, it may have been resilvered. For an original mirror to be in this good condition would very much surprise me. Nevertheless, very, very nice. Now let's slide around and see. This is a Chippendale, well, let's see what they say. Mahogany Queen Anne Highboy. No. All right. How do we know it's Chippendale and not Queen Anne? Because the more ornate designs here. All of this carving and the elaborate little urn finial, that is Chippendale. Queen Anne was a slightly earlier period. It would have had the same broken bonnet look, but just eliminate all the frou-frous. It would have been much more plain, because frankly, it was Thomas Chippendale that got us used to the idea of very heavily carved pieces like this. It's a highboy, small chest at the bottom, larger chest at the top. Oh, here also, that little shell carving in the center of the bottom was very characteristic of Chippendale. The feet look like they could be Queen Anne feet, but Chippendale also used this style of pad feet. So I would say I wouldn't have any trouble at all calling the legs Queen Anne. The problem I have with Queen Anne is that broken bonnet on the top. Beautiful piece. $4.45. Well, solid wood, I'm not going to argue with the price, but I would be very interested in, sort of pulling it apart to see how old it is. Well, I think the bookcase speaks for itself. Yes, it's $2,300. No, that's not overpriced. This is what we would call today a wall unit. It had to be at least 8 feet long, maybe even longer. I didn't have a tape measure with me. I could not get the whole thing into the camera view no matter how far I backed up. So it was just stunning. Beautiful glass doors, a beautiful piece. And again, it speaks for itself. I know the price looks high, but believe me, somebody is going to look at that and say, bargain, that's what I want. The next piece was a lovely light oak Eastlake dresser. The dresser may have been refinished. Usually when it's light oak like that, it has been, because a piece like that, this beautiful Eastlake spoon carving, for starters, we're talking about a piece that's 120 or more years old, and the oak would have darkened over time unless, it had been protected with a coat of cruddy varnish that someone later stripped off. In any case, lovely piece. I am fond of Eastlake, and that had a lot of the Eastlake characteristics that I really like. A piece like that, I could take that piece, throw it in my bedroom. Well, I'd have to sort of, darken the stain a little, get it to look somewhat like the bookcase, then throw it in my bedroom next to my fumed oak Eastlake dresser, and you would just say, oh my, look, a set. Beautiful pieces. I love the intricacy of the work they did on them. And then the final piece in that little segment was the Georgian Revival Highboy. Now, the store had marked it as Queen Anne Highboy. And when I look at the lowboy section of it, now, this is where I get to pull back and explain. A highboy is a lowboy with a bureau on top of it. So what is a lowboy? A lowboy is a couple of drawers on high legs. So when you look at that piece, the bottom portion, if you didn't have the top and threw a nice wood top on it, that would be a lowboy. A lowboy was ordinarily used as something like an occasional table. They were in Georgian rooms to hold things because, they had very little integrated storage in their houses. So if you wanted to store something, you had to shove it in drawers somewhere. And so the bottom piece, the lowboy, was very Queen Anne. The upper piece, and that's the set of drawers on the top, that's what makes it a highboy. When you get up to that bonnet, and that was that swirled sort of piece on the top, the pediment, that was not Queen Anne. Queen Anne pieces would have pediments like that were curled, but it would have been a flat piece of wood. They didn't get into the embellishment. That was Chippendale. So the piece was a repro of probably a piece from the, I'm going to say 1740s on the bottom, and then maybe 1780s on the top. Now, it's very normal that repro pieces like that will do a little combining. Let's face it, they were not trying to make pure reproduction, museum quality knockoffs. They were taking an older style and making it for a modern home. Highboys like that were very fashionable in the mid-20th century, from maybe 1930 to 1960, and I assume that's about the date of that highboy we saw. But someone had asked me a question in the comments of the video 2 days ago about highboys. That's what it is. It's a very distinctive piece of furniture. Now, if instead of being up on those high legs, which are about 18-20 inches high, if the bottom chest had gone straight to the floor and there had been no pediment on the top, it would have been called a chest on chest. Yeah, the Georgians were not very clever. Yeah, but, and that would have been, the chest on chest would have been contemporary to the highboys and lowboys. 18th century pieces, 1700s. Yes. So there you go, 50 cents worth of useless information on highboys. As I was again struggling to make my way to the door, I came across some really interesting hall pieces, chairs with lift-up seats in which you would store things. Very popular turn-of-the-century piece. They'd stick them in the halls, and that's where you'd throw your mittens. And also, there was a very cute little secretary in there. And we took a very quick look at it because I was supposed to be moving. And as I was supposed to be moving, so this beautiful, all-original Empire chest. So let's take a look, and we'll talk about them a little more when we come back. Well, the time is getting away from me a lot quicker than I thought. There are a couple of lovely oak hall pieces here. Very nice, and I want to take you over to see this little secretary in the back. $2.95. Very pretty piece. I like that a lot. All right, this is an Empire chest. One of the interesting things about Empire furniture, I'm going to take you over to the side so you can see it. It was often very top-heavy. And to the modern eye, it looks like there's something wrong with the perspective on a piece like this because it is so top-heavy. This is a gorgeous piece. And part of the gorgeous, even though the style is simple, is this beautiful flame mahogany. So let's take a look. $3.75, all original. Well, the oak hall pieces are great. I can absolutely see them in a country style home, not even in a home where there are a lot of antiques and certainly not turn of the century, but a country style home. I could see pieces like that in the hall there just fitting in beautifully. The little secretary is just so sweet. I could never use a desk that small for myself, but gee, it was nice. And the secretary and the storage pieces were oak. And then we moved on to that beautiful Empire Bureau. And the thing that I wanted you to see about that is the way the top drawer extended and was supported by columns. That was really, really common with empire furniture. The reason for this is, and where the word comes from, empire furniture was French furniture from the reign of Napoleon, who was their emperor, so hence empire. But Napoleon was busy conquering the world, pretending he was Alexander the Great, so he was sending his armies into Egypt and the Middle East, and they were coming across all kinds of art and furniture styles and motifs. And one of the interesting things about that top-heavy look is that there were places in ancient Greece, and at this point we're going back thousands of years, where the columns that supported buildings were wider at the top than they were at the bottom. Now that looks really weird to us, and in fact, I think if I had to stay in a room with columns like that for more than 5 minutes, I'd get nervous and walk out, because I just find it fundamentally unsettling. That is a problem a lot of people have with empire furniture. The way the top portion of the furniture seemed just so heavy. You look at it and say, is that thing going to fall over? It was just a style. That bureau is gorgeous. That's just, it speaks for itself. It really does. Lovely, lovely piece. Not my style. Empire is the early 1800s. And as you know, I prefer Eastlake, which is the later 1800s, but still, gorgeous piece. Then, as I kept a-moving, I found a set of Barrister bookcases, and that's what these are called. They're stacked bookcases, so let's take a look. 575 beautiful oak Barrister bookcases, probably turn of the century. And notice right here, they stack one on top of another. You could run those 2 feet high, you could run them 20 feet high. The price, did I just say what the price was? Yes, $5.75 is actually, believe it or not, a bargain for these. They are highly sought after. Well, much as I regret it, I'm going to have to start making my way to the door. Next time we come back here, I will absolutely allot more time. This is another beautiful oak piece, $4.25. This is a dining room sideboard. Again, look at that beautiful applied decoration, the oak. This is just the straight grain oak. It's not the quarter sawn oak. Here we go. This is quarter sawn oak against straight grain oak, so you can see the difference. And of course, this nice tight grain, that's what made the quarter sawn oak much more desirable. So I seem to recall having promised you some Art Nouveau. There we go. Look at that. Now, let's take a closer look. We have this beautiful brass work here, and these doors will open, giving you access to whatever kind of pretties are inside. Some Wedgwood style medallions, $6.95. Look at the beveled glass here. It's beautiful, and it appears to be all original. We have a little open area, some drawers. They are calling this an entry cabinet, but I would have to say, I think it's a whatever you want it to be cabinet. That is gorgeous. Now, the one thing that I didn't show you, and my bad, was how they open. Those glass doors open awning style from the bottom up. By the way, A window that opens from the bottom up is called an awning window. When it opens from the top down, it's called a hopper window. If it opens from the sides or even one side, it's a casement. If it slides up and down, double hung, goes back and forth, it's sliders. These are actually like real terms in the window industry. So anyway, those Barrister bookcases are crazy popular. So that's the sort of thing that by the time it was loaded off the truck, if it were in a major city, somebody would have been buying it right out of the parking lot. They are so hot. Yes, baby, you can come up if you'd like. Now, we also had the oak sideboard, a very pretty piece, very typical. Oak sideboards like that are often just simply generically called Victorian. And they are because they were in the Victorian era. They were the later half of the 19th century, very common. I tend, and this is just me, I tend to think of Victorian furniture in terms of the high end of, John Belter furniture and the rosewood and mahogany pieces. And I tend to forget that while the wealthy were buying this beautiful pressed back Belter pieces, that the people who worked for them were buying the same things in oak. And that sideboard was very, very nice. And then, of course, we had the Art Nouveau cabinet. Just a sweet piece. And I know when I first spoke about Lutz, I had said they have a lot of Art Nouveau in there. And the last two videos, you haven't seen any of it. It's not that it wasn't there. It was I didn't catch it until the way out. That Art Nouveau cabinet is just wonderful. It has a really nice Regency look to it. Now, periods are 100 years apart. Regency is early 1800s. Art Nouveau is late 1800s, right into the early 1900s. But the thing that made it look so Regency was those little Wedgwood style appliques and the fine inlay on the wood. So, nice piece. Anybody who is looking for Regency or Nouveau. Then on the way out, I was just gobsmacked. This gorgeous oak sideboard. I was speechless. I just stood there saying, huh? So, and I went to the desk and said, do you people deliver? So I'll throw something away to put that in my house. So let's take a look. Okay, I really have to be moving toward the door, but look at this. $5.95 oak. This is, words fail me. Look at this. Huh. Beautiful sideboard, just lovely. Okay, that's what's killing me. That gorgeous Art Nouveau piece backing on the top. Just, well, I promised you Art Nouveau, and here it is. So what did you think of that piece? There were Eastlake touches. I made a point of capturing a little Eastlake, sort of a quarter flower that was just to the left of that round mirror. There were Victorian touches. The round mirror and that swirl, that whole asymmetrical look was just very Art Nouveau. I have no idea when that piece was made. It has bits of different styles. So what can I say for certain? Not before 1880 because of the Eastlake. because the Eastlake was not around before 1880. Eastlake is Gothic Revival, but it's its own particular unique spin on Gothic Revival. So when you see an Eastlake embellishment, you can say, well, we know. No earlier than 1880, because Charles Locke Eastlake's design book didn't come out until the 1880s. So we know that. The rest, who knows? And frankly, who cares? That is a gorgeous piece. I am calling it Art Nouveau because that was what hit me overwhelmingly about that piece. But it was a marriage of styles. The Eastlake was very strong. As I say, that little quarter flower, the little spindles, remember turned spindles are very Eastlake. The superficial sort of shallow carving, again, Eastlake. Oak screams Eastlake. But the asymmetrical round mirror over mantle sort of area, that's not Eastlake. So I don't know. At some point, I'm absolutely going back because I do have a serious interest in that piece. How could I not? And I'm going to start opening drawers and checking to see if I can find other indications of when it was made. My best bet is just turn of the century. I'm going to throw out 1900 and say that is the most likely date for that piece. Just amazing. So I filmed outside as well, but the traffic noises were just so bad that the only way I could ever deal with anything I filmed would be to take it back in, throw it on the computer, knock out everything that I said along with all the traffic noises and do an over recording, an overdubbing on that. And we may end up having to do that just so you can see the things on the outside. But there is so much more to see there that I'm not going to get involved in that sort of thing until after we have exhausted all of the things that we can just film without difficulty. So there we go. That was our Lutz Antiques road trip. Everyone who has commented on it has said we need to go back. And we do. We scratched the surface. And I had no idea how interested you folks would be in this. I find it just, I could live there. And I'm delighted to know that you are interested too, because they have art pieces. They have industrial pieces. There are areas where there's more modern furniture, more country furniture. I did not allot myself enough time. Next time, I'll do better. All right, I'm going to get this all packed up, get the little video clips in there, and I will not see you tomorrow. Tomorrow's Tuesday, but I will see you on Wednesday, and that's for all my word nerds, on Wordy Wednesday. And we are going to start talking about launching our book club on Wednesday. So I'll see you then.